The Zone Coverage Podcast Network.
The Andy Luke and Reef Football Machine.
Autobots, transform! I like this kind of party!
Straight cash, homie.
Starts now.
Welcome back to Thunderdome for another Zone Coverage Football Machine, Zone Coverage Podcast. Now we're brought to you by Vitamin D. Everyone is looking very red.
I got enough on my nose, dude.
Everyone's looking very red. And then Arif and I are over here looking Dak.
Showering in aloe vera.
I'm your not so humble host, Andy Carlson, at Andy Carlson Show on the Twitter machine, and I have equity, more equity than any Browns player will have after investing in Carl Nassib's pyramid scheme.
No spoilers, guys.
10%
I haven't
can't
seen
go
the first
wrong.
episode yet.
Oh, and you haven't seen it? It's
yeah.
good.
Well,
I basically have seen it through Twitter.
Make sure you get 10% compounding interest on your investments.
I picked up enough through your tweets, which I was already dying at, so I can't wait to watch it tonight.
Join me, as always, Arif Hassan, NFL. How's it going?
Hey.
Are you going to change your Twitter handle?
Why would I do that?
I don't know.
Arif Hassan, now athletic.
Wait, you're athletic? Like you've been working out? Like
he no longer
an
face
athletic
plants when doing a route.
Jerk and steal. Also, Luke Gibman, Luke_Spinman. What's going on?
feels good. To
be back?
Yeah. It always just feels good to be here with you guys.
Cold in here.
Yeah.
It is cold in here.
Is this going to be cold in the winter?
No, it'll be excessively hot, probably.
Oh. Working the board is Tom Schreier, T. Schreier 3. Hola.
I'm here to work the board, not the control on the thermostat.
Did you go to public high school or private?
Private.
No.
You could have that easily.
The odds on that would have been minus 220.
No, the question is, though, was it a Thai private school or a Polo private school?
It was military uniform.
It was
Yeah.
It was mini skirt.
Yeah.
What? So you're obviously private pile.
Yes, I'm in the private pile, very much so. Yeah.
It's okay. Today, hour one, talking nonsense because this team is, for a mid to large size market team, this is historically, I'm pretty sure the Metrodome / Met Stadium / Winter Park / TCO all built atop Indian Burial Grounds. Only way that can explain why this team has so many storylines coming out of it.
Sense.
Yeah. Also, follow Zone Coverage on Twitter, Zone Coverage M, and subscribe, rate, review on the iTunes. Also, Tom, subscribe because you can be someone.
Yeah, no, you can get either the $24 model, you get some gift cards, Buffalo Wild Wings, My Burger, or you can go the Go Nocturnal Reef shirt model. That's the $20 model. And we should have more shirts coming out down the pipe. A lot of Vikings-based stuff, given the popularity of the team. For obvious reasons, the Twins as sellers aren't doing great in terms of the merchandising department. We should have Wolves, Wild, stuff like that as well.
I like that the Twins just continually just shat all over their fans, completely like Cleveland Steamer style. But they're always coming back in April because, what else we could do all summer?
Well, we were saying last year they basically laundered Jaime Garcia, bought and sold, and obviously made the playoffs. But since Mauer signed that big contract, in each of the 8 years they've been a seller.
Oh, I forgot they made the playoffs. I watched the first 10th of that game.
Yeah, it was an
great.
exciting. It was exciting.
Dozer hit a home run.
Less than an inning.
Yeah, and then they Chase Severino, and then right after that, blew the lead. And the funny thing is, the Yankees, if you want revenge, the A's all of a sudden are good for some reason, and they may knock off the Yankees this year because the Yankees likely will be in that wild card game.
You ever see Moneyball? Brad Pitt had Star-Lord play first base. That's all they won.
I think you missed the theme of Moneyball, which is the Twins beat that team in the playoffs that year.
They don't mention that in the movie except for the end, which they kind of gloss over. But whatever.
Yeah. Moneyball was actually Michael Lewis was going to write that about the Twins, and the Twins said no.
Oh, why?
I don't know.
Wait, but actually?
Yeah, because the Twins had a similar the Twins went from very ahead of the curve to very behind the curve, kind of in the two stints of Terry Ryan.
Was it
Man, if
because
the Twins had said yes, they would have been pressured to stay ahead of the curve just by virtue of that thing existing.
It's a fair point. I did not make that decision. Yeah,
you made that.
was it
Yeah,
because
yeah.
Carl
Good Lord, Tom.
was it because Carl Pohlad okayed Little Big League, and then in the movie, like the stand-in for him died, like in the first 30 minutes?
Is
So it's
that
like,
right?
I hope that's
never
the
again.
reason.
That'd be
Phenomenal
amazing.
movie, by the
Yeah,
way.
it's a great movie.
Also,
Ken Griffey Jr. cameo.
Also,
Yeah.
in the dome.
they licensed themselves for Major League 3.
Yeah. It was odd what they kind of chose to do and not to do because Moneyball's great, but there you
Besides
have
the
it.
Yankees, dude, the Twins have the most baseball movies about them.
Cleveland's got to be. Up there,
Cleveland, yeah, Major League,
Yeah.
Yeah, 1 and 2, so it's tied 2-2.
and really one is the best one of those.
2 is pretty good. I mean, Rube Baker.
Right? Two's pretty solid.
Playing your caps and sleeves at this level. Yeah, I don't know. Twins very popular for being a team that was very cheap for a long time.
Yeah. Something also very popular. Let's just dive right into the Vikings news. Richie Incognito. Come on. I love
Tweet that.
I love that the Vikings made the NFC title game last year. We don't need to talk about the actual game. You have the number one defense returning. You signed the biggest free agent in NFL history. You got John DeFilippo. You got Sheldon Richardson. And the main storyline, week 2 of training camp, Richie Incognito.
Richie.
Come on down. Now, with Zimmer with this very strong denial, false tweet that, blah, blah, blah. And then Richie just coming back calling him an effing liar. What level of interest do you think Spielman actually reached out and had?
Say
We saw the text messages. Apparently, the interest was one-sided.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's Sperano's. If they even were
I'd
from
say like
Sperano.
a 2 or 3 out of
Yeah.
10. Like
it's-
Spielman keeps his options
Like,
open,
okay, so,
so
like-
he didn't close the door. But
Yeah, keeping like this story aside, if we were just like before the season started, we were like, hey, what do you think the Vikings' interest in Richie Incognito is? I bet you his name came up.
Yeah.
But I also bet you that, it was one of a dozen names. And
Right.
they shelved it very quickly. Just it's a conversation that everybody needs to have at a position made. Like, oh, who's available? These people are available. What are the pros and cons?
So what do you
Let's
think
not
about Richie?
talk
Which one?
Go on. No. Okay. No. So yeah. And then I think Richie did a very good job of fulfilling the Vikings' lack of faith in him.
Yes.
yeah, he was good at that.
Yeah,
he
no,
was good at that.
even the
executed really well.
even the apology, where
Jeez, man.
Apology.
Even the apology made me uncomfortable.
No,
it-
that was
like-
actually probably the worst part.
it-
I didn't go that
angry
far.
when he's
No, the worst part
apologizing.
was sharing the screenshots of the dead coach.
Yeah. Okay.
No,
Yes.
his apology where he really weaved in the late Tony Sperano,
Yeah.
which I think is disgusting.
Yeah, that was insanely uncomfortable.
It's like, hey, you can't criticize my apology. I'm standing on Tony's shoulders here, which is
Right. Like I'm just sad that Coach Sperano is dead. That's kind of why I lashed out.
Yeah.
And it's like, own your actions, man. Don't hide
So
behind.
real quick, he went into a mental institute.
No,
Right?
he's
Voluntarily
fine, dude.
did.
He's
he did
totally
not
fine.
go.
Yeah, right.
The state said, hey, you should go.
Yeah,
So,
he's involuntarily.
but he is not monitored. Like that dude does what he wants.
right. And it's clear
Yeah.
they didn't take his phone away from him.
Yeah.
But
I just worry about general safety. Like if you
Right.
lived in this neighborhood.
well, okay, so yeah, he's obviously out and about, right? Because he did this by going to TMZ studios and doing an interview. He wasn't even ambushed. He was just doing.
He ambushed TMZ.
Yeah, he was like, "Hey, I'm here." But no,
First person to ever flip the script.
let me tell you stuff about my life.
Oh, no. Oh, here's the best part. So he did that with TMZ Sports. TMZ was the site that posted the Mike Pouncey N-word video.
Yeah, right.
Full circle
So
of life.
So in that interview, he mentioned that he's got a passion for politics and is thinking about entering
Oh,
the
God.
political arena, which
Which party?
we got to be. Couldn't tell.
The corrupt part.
Which
Never mind.
you got to imagine, good fit. Then he says, "Oh, a couple of teams reached out to me, Minnesota, Seattle, and they're like, oh, well, have you decided? Are you going to go with the team?" He's like, "Oh, I want to wait out training camp," which is like, I mean, you're talented.
He's
You're not
basically like Brett Favre.
Brett
though.
Favre. Right, yeah,
Yeah.
you're talented, but you're not like Brett Favre. And also, Brett Favre's off-field issues are hilarious, and yours are concerning. They're different. Maybe if this was Falcons Favre, then they would be concerning.
No, not even that.
Not even that, right? dude. And then because this happens, I am now committed to fighting on Twitter about it contractually, right, Tom?
Yes. Yep. In there.
So then I have to list all of the reasons that Incognito is a concern. And the crazy thing about this is it convinced some people. The argument on the internet
on Twitter?
changed people's minds. Yeah, because the laundry list is so long. I didn't even list them all.
See, I thought it would be everyone got by the college crap, the Miami crap, the N-word crap, the most recent the golf course stuff, but when Zimmer said false, tweet that, and then he said F you, he said he called my coach a effing liar. He's done. He's dead to me. I don't want to.
The last
was
straw.
the turning
But see, today
point.
he apologized. Well, he apologized.
Hey, we do need an O-lineman.
Yeah, right. I did see that today. Well,
No. I
definitely.
know.
But yeah, okay. Quick rehash. Goes to Nebraska, kicked off the team. Goes to Oregon, kicked off the team before he gets to go to a practice. Not
But
even
nice
play a
guy, nice
game.
guy.
Yeah.
Well, was that Oregon pre? I
think it was pre-chip.
Awesome money.
Yeah, I think it was pre-Nike.
All right.
But I don't know.
Adidas, get out of practice.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Mike Bellotti coaching back in the Stone Age.
So yeah, he redshirts in Nebraska, gets arrested there. They give him another chance, so he blows his chance at Nebraska. Then he goes to Oregon, blows his chance before he shows up to a practice. Then he goes to the Rams. The Rams, he ends up getting injured, and then instead of rehabbing, he actually parties every night. And the Rams almost cut him then.
Oh, that's not
for
rehabbing.
partying instead of rehab. Yeah. And then he leads the league in personal fouls, I think, every single year. And then, obviously, of course, over the course of those 4 years. So they cut him. He goes to the Bills. He plays phenomenally for the Bills. And then the Bills are like, we don't want him back. And then he goes to Miami. Then a couple of things I've heard happened at Miami. Bullies a teammate, uses racial slurs, not only on the teammate, but on a Japanese trainer.
But Reef, don't you know that Jonathan Martin has his own issues?
Yeah, I don't know why.
I love that.
Yeah,
The
people bring
make,
that up.
The
I don't know
people
why.
making that argument are the same people who said, the lady did push Joe Mixon.
Right, it's why do we even have this comparison? It's not there doesn't need to be a comparison made. Jonathan Martin has his own issues. Also, that makes Incognito stuff worse. Because Incognito said, "Oh, Jonathan Martin told me he was suicidal." So then I bullied him.
Yeah, what a jackass.
And then he sexually assaults a lady at a charity golf event. And then
They're, not to make light of that, but it's he. All right, so he was. Richie Incognito sexually assaulted me with the golf club. At the golf club? No, with the golf club. Wait, but at the golf club. Yes, I know it's confusing, but it was with the 9-iron.
Yeah. Which the headlines did get kind of confusing for a while because of that. And then he is caught on video screaming the N-word.
Yeah. But it's okay because Mike Pouncey said he could say it.
Yeah, Mike Pouncey gave him a pass.
Mike Pouncey speaks for everyone.
Yeah, right. And then he goes to the Bills, and things are okay for a little bit, and then he calls Yannick Ngakoue something, and so he's using.
Oh, I forgot that one.
Every time you
That
go,
one
over
always
this,
slips
there's
through
a
the
thing that you
cracks.
forget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how
So-
you have. I
When's
just want to
that
be
book
clear.
come out,
Arif
dude?
is not looking at a computer. You have this memorized.
Yeah, right. Well, I argued about it a lot.
Yeah.
And so he uses slurs, and then he, in the off season, is just yelling at a random gym goer, throws a tennis ball, throws a dumbbell at them,
Yep.
then accuses them of working for the NSA,
That's my favorite part of that.
and then gets involuntarily committed. And then he says, Minnesota had interest in me. This is obviously the worst part. It's the conclusion. Minnesota had interest in me. And then he shares texts from a person who cannot confirm or deny these texts. But I don't think he made them up because the texts were very non-committal to say that Minnesota had interest. And then he calls Mike Zimmer a liar.
It's like if you want
guy.
to go out.
Besides all that,
Great guy.
great guy.
It's like if you want to go out, except your buddy doesn't want to, except doesn't want to say no either. Essentially what those texts were. I like what you pointed out yesterday. Is I wonder what the Seattle texts look like.
Yeah, right. Especially if it's with Pete Carroll. If it's Tom Cable, I'm sure those texts are have got their own spiciness. Or I guess it's not Tom Cable.
Tom
anymore.
Cable doesn't text.
Yeah.
He's not
but
seem like
if it's
texture guy.
directly with Pete Carroll, I would love to see that. They would talk about the NSA.
Yeah.
They talk about 9/11. Just amazing texts.
So the reason why Richie Incognito is even back on the radar is that the Vikings are having some interior O-line concerns. Pat Elflein's been on the shelf on the pup with the shoulder and ankle, but he seems fine. Same thing with Mike Remmers, nursing that ankle, except he's a veteran, whatever. The Easton one,
that one is the
sort
most
of came out
concerning
of
to me.
nowhere.
Yeah. He shows up to walk through one day and doesn't participate. And then we found out like a day later, right, Luke?
Yeah, about a day. Yep.
That
His
Courtney
neck.
Cronin
His
initially
back.
reported this. That he's got a back issue and a neck issue, and
Not
that he's
good for an
seeking
O-lineman.
a second opinion, which is always kind of like
Not
if you're seeking a
good.
second opinion, that first opinion was not like optimistic about your prognosis. So that's the one that concerns me.
No, the first one, you're perfectly healthy, is like,
Are you sure?
I don't know, man. I just want to hammer these checks
Yeah, right.
and eat some checks mix all season long. But as far as like leaks go, I want to know if like Rick Spielman just goes to the PR and like, all right, we're going to pull aside each trainer, each PR person. We're going to tell them a different story, and we'll see which one comes out. It's like Plinko.
Yeah.
He's got a neck. He's got a back. He's got a finger. He's got a hangnail. He's got indigestion. He's got Crohn's disease. Yeah.
Classic counter-espionage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how they do it.
That's Zimmer thinking...
Jokic? Who said Jokic?
man.
No, that's what Rob Brzezinski does when he's not crunching numbers.
Can you imagine? You're like, Bob, real quick. Think of some diseases.
Time for two more.
But I will go on record and like be willing to wager a fair amount that Elflein and Mike Remmers will be in the starting lineup week 1, San Francisco.
Yeah.
No biggie.
Yeah.
Elflein and Remmers feel very confident about that.
I
Yep.
think when we look at it right now, it's very easy to be super concerned about the injuries.
Well, it's been so long for Elflein. That was
Right.
February, March.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's getting a little worrisome here.
But when you think about, but who's going to be available week 1, then you know that at least 2 of them are coming back, maybe the third one. And that's when you kind of need to dig into the depth and figure out if any of these backup guards are people that you're comfortable with.
Week 1 starting left guard is whom?
Danny Isidore.
I was going to say Isidore.
Yeah.
And Tom Compton might be in the mix here, too. As difficult as that is
Tom
to say, but like,
to spin it positively, Tom Compton is exactly what we thought he'd be.
absolutely.
Wow. Okay, very positive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's hype. It's a pride of Rosemont right there. No wonder they...
Hashtag one of us.
Yeah. So Stephon Diggs gets paid. Xavier Rhodes also paid. What's the background on the chippiness and also why they missed Wednesday afternoon practice?
Well, I wasn't there today. Arif will fill us in on the morning walkthrough. But at the end of practice, and it seems like this has been tweeted out, so a lot of people know this already, Kirk Cousins hooked up with Stephon Diggs on a beautiful deep ball. Now, I will say this. The play before, now not a lot of people know this, the play before, Rhodes was hobbling. And I turned to Sam Ekstrom on the sideline. I go, it's clear that Rhodes is... No, yeah, I mean, it was obvious he was hobbling. Now, he should have either manned up and taken him...
all the time, though.
It was very obvious. It was. I mean, this wasn't something that he does all the time. I mean, it looked like to me that he should have manned up, and if it was that bad, walked off the field and had somebody check in, or he was doing what he always does. To your point, Arif. So he got burned. Stephon Diggs goes a little overboard for day 9 of training camp here in August. Showboats a little bit, which, hey, you know what?
Stephon.
More
Except for
power
the
to you.
fans, man. Yeah.
Throws the $13,000 fine ball into the stands.
Yep.
Crowd loved it. Rhodes, I don't think, took very kindly to that. And for the next
Should have let him score.
for the next
It's up
18
29.
minutes, he was jawing at Stephon Diggs, saying, get expletive back in here. Multiple times, he kept waving off multiple cornerbacks that was going to sub in for him. He kept saying every time Stephon Diggs lined up somewhere else, he tried to follow him over there. He was like taking it personal, and I don't know if
And the thing
dog
is, he was
days
having a really good day before
he was.
that, right?
I don't know if the
2
dog
picks that
days.
day.
Yeah. Two picks. So it's not like he was having a bad day or a bad camp. Maybe the dog days of summer, the heat caught up to him towards the end of this practice. Maybe he didn't like the chuck of the ball in the end zone or to the fans, but something triggered Xavier Rhodes, and he couldn't let it go. Now, you fill us in what happened in walkthrough. Did this carry over to walkthrough today?
So apparently they were jogging a little bit at walkthrough.
Wow,
obviously,
so it kept going.
Yeah, obviously it doesn't matter because it's walkthrough.
Absolutely not.
Right, and
right, it's walkthrough. If you've never been to a walkthrough, they literally go quarter speed of what they're going to do at practice.
They say half speed, and it's not even
it's
that.
a quarter.
Yeah.
So what are you trying to prove?
The ball
yeah, what are you going to do?
But yeah, so apparently there's a rumor. We don't actually have visual confirmation of this rumor.
We know
that they got a little into it. I don't think it got physical, but they got a little into it at the locker room after the walkthrough. And Zimmer told the gathered media today that there was a discipline issue. He took care of it, and then he wasn't going to answer any more questions about it. And then someone asked him a question.
Can we say who it was?
Chris Thompson.
I think we know who it was.
Yeah, we don't need to name names.
Thomason minus 280.
And then he said, "What did I just say? I'm not going to answer any more questions about it." So sounds like
what's the latest on Pat Elfline's injury?
Yeah, well, then he also did not answer that, but they did ask that afterwards. Pretty shortly afterwards, actually.
I like that they keep trying. Like Zim's not going to give up anything.
Yeah, well, Zim
used
is
to be a little bit more lenient back in the days, second year.
And then one of them was like, "Well, can you speak to why Anthony Barr was sitting out practice today? Maybe quell any rumor." And he goes, "Oh, well, I'm not going to talk about that." Okay, was Anthony Barr sitting out for trade-related reasons today? No, I mean, everyone was laughing. So.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's like, no, I thought I addressed that yesterday, but he was laughing. So
was it legit laughter or media laughter?
It was legit laughter. It was pretty funny.
I like media laughter, like when the player says something like on a 3 out of 10.
Obviously meant to be amusing. But
3 out of 10.
Okay, but so what are you going to buy?
Or no, they especially do it for coaches that are like a tough nut to crack. Like they'll do it for Belichick a lot.
Yeah,
that might be the
courtesy. We call it the courtesy laugh. Like it wasn't really funny, but I'll give you a courtesy.
Also, Zim made a reference to he was referencing like the game Telephone. For I forget why.
Like how rumors get started.
Yeah, and how they morph. But he was referencing something called Toodles the Tugboat, which none of us had ever heard of. But it was clear that he meant the same thing that you'd mean when you
It was one of those childhood cartoons that Zimmer had to watch back at the fair. We had to crank the Nickelodeon.
Yeah, the Nickelodeon, yeah. The Nickelodeon, not just a channel, a historical thing.
He is old.
Nickelodeon, please sponsor us.
So someone who's really old, the Cleveland Browns, super old. Hard Knocks. Touch on this real quick. Not give away spoilers, but I always love this show. I mean, come on.
It's really good.
Great.
Considering it, you went from...
It was heavy, though.
Yeah, so you went from L.A. to... What was last year?
Well, Texans was 2...
Did it go Texans L.A.?
L.A.
There's also
Texans.
Well, remember too. Don't get confused with All or Nothing, the Amazon show, which is virtually the same thing as well. And that was L.A. 2 years ago, and the Cowboys last year. But yeah, I think you're right. L.A. was last year. Texans 2 years ago.
I think it was that.
Throwing a dart up
and
here,
Atlanta might have been.
And then Atlanta. Yep.
Ooh, question. Do the Vikings change of pace? Whatever. Do the Vikings regret letting Jeremiah Searles walk?
Boy. I'd have to go back and look at the contract that he ended up getting paid, but I'd rather have him than Compton, and I'd feel a lot more comfortable plugging him in. I mean, I'm not going to sleep easy about either of them at night, but I'd certainly, if you ask me, Compton, Searles, going ahead, easy, Searles.
I could see Compton and Searles being that Spider-Man meme of just pointing at each other. Hey,
right. That's a good one.
Yeah, that guy. Actually, it's a little bit closer now because I did not know that Tom Compton was sleeved out.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I think I would now since we've seen him, but whatever. First depth chart released on Tuesday, the unofficial one, heading into the first preseason game. Besides Mike Boone being at the bottom,
well, okay.
Anything else stick up?
Well, so it clearly doesn't matter. And in fact, at the scrum today, someone was like, "Oh, so Eric Wilson's been looking really good. Does he back up? Like, can he compete for Ben Gideon's spot or something like that?" And Zimmer was like, "Well, they play different positions." And in his very matter of fact, it felt like he was annoyed at the person who asked the question. Sure. Who could have possibly asked that question?
God.
And that person responds with, Well, I mean, but they're listed at the same position on the depth chart, and Zimmer goes, the depth chart? Oh, yeah, I wouldn't pay any attention to that. So take that for what you will.
There you go.
Who do you think puts that together? Because it's obviously not Zimmer.
I think the PR staff just looks at the one that was set at the beginning of minicamp
Seriously.
and just checks to see if the same people are on the roster.
Yeah.
Just real quick, it went Falcons 14, Texans,
Texas was a great
Rams,
one with J.J. Watt.
Buccaneers, which that was the Jameis one.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
a pretty weak one.
I mean, it was
the first episode was great.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was like whatever.
Yeah, and so I guess my point
So
is
we learned Jeremy McNichols is really dumb. I guess.
And Aguayo sucked.
Yeah, cool.
Which was
yeah.
like half the episode.
Yeah.
of
Hard
every
Knocks.
episode.
So I don't know. They considering it's the Browns and they're so bad and it's Cleveland, they've actually made. I mean, some of it was obvious, but there's good storylines, and I think.
Well, there's a lot of good story, despite them
We spent
winning
a little
one
too
game
much
in the
time
last.
on the RV. Spoilers: there's a quarterback RV. I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
Spent too much time on that. I think.
Again, haven't seen the first episode, but I will say this, Tom: one game in the last 32 or 2 seasons that they've won.
Yeah.
There's still actually a ton of great storylines
For
from
sure.
what they've done in this offseason. Maybe no bigger. I mean, a lot of these come down to the head coach. How entertaining is the season going to be? Depends on your head coach. I'm not a big Hugh guy, and I don't think
he'll pull
like
at your
a
heart.
great-
Do not
Yeah.
insult 2019 Vikings offense coordinator Hugh Jackson like that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And Luke was like, never. It was a heavy episode. Again, not a ton of spoilers, but I mean, these are things already disclosed to the public. Hugh Jackson's mother and brother both died within a week and a half of each
Yeah,
other.
it's
brutal.
really they do a
Yeah.
good job
That's tough.
with that topic.
Yeah, and it's weird because it's like football, and football is like very on task, and so like he'll like say this to the coaches, and the coaches will be like, "Oh wow, that sucks." So is that Inside Zone? Like it's like
There's a great scene with that. Yeah,
it's pretty weird. But there's that, and then they do spend a little bit of time on Baker, of course. He's
Jarvis Landry.
yeah, they spent a lot of time on Jarvis Landry. So when they recorded this, they had actually leaked, because they're very good at PR for this show that everyone loves anyway. They had leaked that Jarvis Landry gives a speech, and it's one of the top 5 moments in Hard Knocks all time. But not number 1. Rex Ryan has the number 1. I don't know which one.
We want to lead the
Get
league
a
and win.
GD snack.
Yeah.
Where's Revis? You see
Let's go
Revis?
get a GD snack.
The shake weights.
Oh my
God. The shake weights. But yeah, so maybe the entire Jets season is number 1. But
Bengals with.
I would
Chad
say that
Johnson.
yeah, right. I would say it's probably not my top 5. It's a pretty good speech. I don't know that
I
anyone
thought it was
else
kinda
was.
goofy.
It seemed a little
I don't think
forced.
anyone else was buying
Yes,
it. Yeah,
I think Forrest is a good. I think Forrest is a good.
I think it loses impact for me just because no
the
one else in the
speech?
receiver room was responding to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Twitter was hyping it up,
Oh my
and I was
God.
like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Nuts,
That's
dude.
not what I would sell. Definitely the Hugh Jackson stuff probably is number 1 to me.
Yeah.
Even how he addresses his coaches, he definitely it's interesting. Different
Yeah,
than kind of.
it's awkward.
Yeah. Baker's
and
Baker's fun. I like him.
I think also a potential brewing storyline between Todd Haley and Hugh Jackson.
That's what I've been hearing
So-
too.
so the
on
we-
my timeline, strictly on my
The
timeline.
only weird one is that they addressed Josh Gordon, but it was 5 minutes total. I mean, I don't. There's
Yeah,
not much,
but I mean,
guess,
like,
but
it's weird because when they talk about Josh Gordon, they're very aware of the cameras on them.
yeah.
And then when they do anything else, it's like the cameras aren't there, which is kind of how Hard Knocks is like,
Actually,
kind of meant to be.
best scene might have been the guy on the whiteboard running his like pyramid scheme or whatever.
Yeah,
was that Nazem?
yeah. Carl Nassif. He's
Yeah.
talking about how you shouldn't get a financial advisor because they take 1% of your money, which is like terrible advice, in my opinion.
And Instagram, don't waste your time on Instagram.
don't spend. So he was like, we spent. Well, that was in the post-credit scene. Essentially, he was like,
Yes.
if you spend 2 hours a day on Instagram, you're spending a month out of the year
Look at-
on Instagram. What are you doing? And one of the guys was like, so what?
Yeah.
Which was amazing.
I hope there's those little moments like with the Bucks when they had to sing and how everyone reacts to that.
Yeah.
When they're all in the room together, it's usually pretty fun.
Yeah.
How Greg Williams is in this one again? It's like because I feel like he's
Kind of a magnet, right?
He was the
That's 'cause
Rams.
he's always
right?
a coach on bad teams, and bad teams are always on hard.
Yeah,
knocks.
he's like I turned down 7 jobs.
7 jobs. They were not. We don't know for a fact that they were defensive coordinator
I mean,
or even NFL.
I
jobs.
could have been with Montreal.
Montreal, the unnamed Memphis XFL team.
Right.
Applebee's really wanted me, assistant GM, coming in cold.
Yeah,
tough
right.
to turn down.
Yeah, that's a great title, assistant GM.
Is it almost better to have bad teams on Hard Knocks, or would you want to see
I think
like
it
the
depends.
Patriots, Steelers?
Again, I go back to the head coach.
Yeah.
I really do. I feel like the best episodes we've had, a head coach and a few characters in there, like a J.J. Watt or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think each team. I think it'd be easy to say,
Pete Carroll.
this will make it good.
Yeah, I was
this
about
will
to
make
say,
it bad.
Pete Carroll
but
will be great.
Pete Carroll will be good. Yeah, I think it's
I bet the
easy
Jets
to,
would not be that interesting.
Who?
Right? Because Todd Bowles is like a fine coach, maybe,
No.
but he's not an interesting
No,
personality.
but Todd Bowles
Jets a long
is
time
Bruce
ago.
Arians' disciple, so he has to be cut from the same. Oh no, he's the complete opposite.
They all
Okay.
act the same
Yeah.
way.
Arif would just have cuts of Teddy, and we're like, there's other people in the
What,
in Hard Knocks.
It's the Teddy Bridgewater Hard Knocks episode.
It's like Teddy. It's 9 p.m. I'm going to bed.
I'm out.
But like, yeah, I mean, Seattle will be great, and we never know if they're good or bad now that
Yeah.
they've collapsed.
Yeah, Carroll would have been great.
Yeah, Carroll
for
would have been
especially with Richard Sherman and Michael Bennett
Yeah.
and some characters.
But I mean, like,
in
think
there.
about this:
Some vocal guys.
Falcons team was pretty good, and that Hard Knocks was like kind of whatever because Mike
yeah,
Smith is very
I
boring.
thought it was exactly.
And-
As his name would imply.
Speaking
Right, 'cause
of
the head coach
forcing
ends
it,
up
like
being-
like Mike Smith does not seem like the kind of guy who swears, and like when he was
Oh, and when
dropping
he
F
forced
bombs
it,
on there, it's like
that might have been one of the better moments that
I
are
don't
not
know, man.
related to Brian Cox.
No good,
Brian
dude.
Cox, star of that season, the Atlanta defensive
Yeah.
line coach.
I like the Rams one a lot. The guy with the dinosaurs.
Yeah, Will. He's
I'd
with
like
the
the
Dolphins
Steelers,
now. What's his name?
Tomlin, and
Yeah,
some other good
Steelers
coaches
should be
too.
good.
Not just Tomlin, but some other good coaches in there too. And then there obviously a lot of storylines.
two-part question, and then we'll hit my burger, and also then we'll hit with the trade machine. So already think about that.
Previewing the ads. That's
If it's
great.
if it's Hard Knocks Vikings, who this year, who would be the star assistant coach, and who would be the star lower tier player?
I think Andre Patterson would be up there because Andre Patterson is around a lot of other characters too. So he's engaging with Everson Griffins
Yeah.
and quite a few other characters already.
There's one clear answer for the assistant.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
No,
Mike Prefer.
No.
Oh, okay, because I don't think he's going to drop another.
Yeah.
But I think he'd watch himself. Actually, DiFilippo would be great as
Yeah,
an
that's a
assistant
good
coach. They would probably follow around Jerry Gray a little bit.
Yep.
I've talked to.
I don't think actually Andre Patterson would get that much run except when the rest of the defensive line is around.
Fair enough. I've talked to 4 to 6 different offensive players, and I've asked the majority of them the same cliche question: what's it like to have a new offensive coordinator, a new head coach, or new quarterback and a new offensive coordinator? All of them open their answer with, DiFilippo has some of the most energy they've ever been around for any coach they've ever worked with ever. So he must bring the heat every day.
I mean, it's throwing shade to high energy Pat Shurmur. I mean, you can't get that man to
Norv.
shut up or go to sleep ever.
Norv.
Oh, sorry. The star assistant coach would be Robert Rodriguez. Come on, baby.
That would be fun.
That guy's hilarious.
He'd be fun.
Everson would be the star player, right? Hands down.
Yeah, but I
He'd
mean,
be
they'd
top
follow
2.
Stefan probably too, because
Yeah.
Stefan is
Diggs.
incredibly charismatic.
and they would push Thielen a lot, right? The hometown guy.
Yeah, they would.
I think
He's boring.
I think Odenabo might be like the bottom of the roster guy.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, he'd be pretty fun to follow as the bottom of the roster
yeah,
guy.
for sure. That'd be good.
Brandon
Who else?
Zylstra
He's super fun.
from the frozen Canadian North, trying to follow
the frozen
in the very well moccasin footsteps of one Adam
Time for a
Thielen.
Viking to be joined by
Slaughter,
an actual
Slaughter be in the
Eskimo,
mix, right?
and then-
Because quarterbacks are always in the mix.
How come Sluter's been so bad?
He's forcing it. I talked to Daniel House about this yesterday.
You think he's forcing it?
He's forcing it. He's trying to make up for a bad first week of camp with every throw. It's like he's trying to get it all back.
Oh, he's Heinekeing it.
rifling. He is Heineke.
Yeah.
He's rifling these short and intermediate throws in, man. And
That might
trying to-
be fair.
Trying to prove to everybody that he's got it. And it's like, dude, we know you got the arm and everything. You just need to put together 2, 3, 4 days of practice in a row. Good practice in a row.
For me,
he's forcing it a little bit.
I think for me, my
pressing.
take is that when he was with Denver, he was able to work with a simple offense against a simple defense, which is also what we saw in the preseason for him. And I think he's being thrown completely in to a complex offensive playbook against a very complex defense. and that's taking him a while. Too.
I should know the
That's a good point. And you know what's going to end up happening? He's going to he's been having a pretty rough camp. He's going to have that first preseason game against Emory. He's going to light it up.
No, yeah.
That's just how it works.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's just how it works.
Yeah,
Don't try to
like
figure it out.
6 plays.
There's no rhyme or reason. 5 for 6, 88
And
yards
remember,
and
he
a
started
tug.
that Cardinals game. That was just an amazing preseason game. He started that with a safety, right? So, you know.
Jesus.
Can always be wide receiver 5, since no one seems to want that job. He's in. Something you do seem to want, though, is a great burger. My Burger is the place to go in the Twin Cities. Been family-owned, obsessed over since 2004. It's like 15 years, man. Math. Made to order burgers, hand-pressed to perfection. Also, you can get a gluten-free bun if that's your jam. You get hand-dipped malts, also delicious. Salad, sweet potato fries, everything, as well as craft beer at all 5 of their locations. Stadium Village, Richfield, Calhoun, Skyway, downtown, as well as Mac Groveland. Plus, you can order online, myburgerusa.com. Also, become a subscriber at zonecoverage.com. You get a gift card for a free burger at My Burger, so hit them up. Something we should also hit up, so trades. Everyone likes trades. They're very rare, especially player-for-player trades, but say that the sky is falling. Like, say Pat Elflein gets hit by a bus, Mike Remmers is deported, and Nick East is no bueno.
Is he a candidate to be deported?
I mean,
Who knows? Maybe.
yeah, it's possible. Yeah. So let's fire up the trade machine. Since the Vikings have 10 draft picks going into next year, projected an extra 3, 6, and 2 7s, compensatory as well as all the draft picks except for the one they flipped for Simeon. Blah blah blah. Throw me a couple of players that the Vikings could sort of go quasi Bradford-ish, whether it be player, whether it be pick, etc. I'll just throw one out there. Evan Smith, Tampa Bay, for Mac Alexander, because Tampa Bay secondary is trash.
Well, I like the Mac. When you threw this idea out,
Mac's good.
it was 2 obvious things for me. First, you got to find where do we have depth. We're loaded at corner. Mac seems to be an obvious choice for me. Or if you want to go as big as Wayne's, you could go as big as Wayne's because I'm fine. If you get the right value and trade value back, I'm fine with trading Trey Waynes and getting a really good offensive lineman. But Waynes or Mack, an obvious choice. The other one would be Laquan Treadwell for a receiver-needy team. I like that, what you did there. You obviously got to find a team, and this is, I know, just a fun little game, but you got to find a team that is willing to trade an offensive lineman for the players that we mentioned. I'm looking at the Cowboys. Now, they're probably not going to give you Connor Williams because they love him so much, but maybe Lyle Collins, a guy who could play tackle or guard, and you could give them, again, Treadwell and a 4th or a 3rd or a 2nd.
I don't know that
Trey
they'd give up,
Waynes for Lyle Collins.
Yeah, I don't know that they'd give up Collins. I do think they might be able to give up like Joe Looney and a couple of picks.
All right, well, I don't want Looney.
But Luke, why are we trading for a right tackle when we need guard help?
Touche. That was one. I'll throw out one more. I was looking at the Chargers, and you talked about Mack.
Yep.
They already have Jason Verrett go on the IR.
Yep.
They're loaded on the interior with guys like Forrest Lamp. Give me Lamp, who played center or guard, and you can have Mack or Mack and some change like a 4th or 5th round pick, or maybe Waynes, and we get like a 4th back. But if you give me Forrest Lamp, we got the depth at corner to, again, I think, kind of give up one of those guys and get a guy like Forrest Lamp.
So
that's what you have to think about.
They're pretty desperate. I don't know that they're so desperate they give up Forrest. I don't want to keep crapping on your dreams, man.
No, it's great, dude. I can't wait for years.
No, we'll take Dan Feeney.
No. It was going to
I'll
be.
take Feeney too,
It
but
was going to
Lamp
be with the Chargers.
He's got the center guard.
Yeah,
versatility,
it was
which
going to
is
be
nice.
with the Chargers. I'd figure actually that they would get Scott Quessenberry, and they would give Mack and then receive Quessenberry in picks, so they can actually accumulate picks and not have to give away picks. Because I just don't see how Forrest Lamp, Mike Pouncey, or Dan Feeney are available
Right. Again,
for trades.
just a fun little game.
Yeah, I'm
with
it's just
you.
a game.
I'm with
Jeez,
you,
why
dude.
Why are you bringing reality into our hypothetical fun game? Maurice?
I'm with you.
But the
are you
Chargers are
targeting
desperate.
more of an interior guy or a tackle?
For me, it's an interior guy, because
which is easier to get, hopefully.
Yeah.
In a league depleted of tackles, you're not going to find anybody. It's like you said about Collins.
Yeah,
You're gonna have a
it
hard
just
time
seems like the
finding anybody.
Chargers do value those interior, because they went out and they signed Pouncey, right? And
That's right.
they drafted
Lamp
in the second
and
round 2 guards.
Feeney.
Yeah. So they clearly value it, and it would be kind of difficult, even though Verrett's out, Trevor Williams got dinged
I was
up.
just going to say that. And they need cornerback.
Yeah, they absolutely need cornerback
really
depth.
bad.
So it would be kind of interesting
Forgot
to see
about
kind of
Pouncey with
what
them.
you'd have to do. Like, maybe you could give up Trey Waynes and get one of those guards. I could see that.
Yeah, give me Forrest Lamp, who's unproven, so maybe you get him at a little discount because he was hurt. But, yeah, maybe it's a Mac straight up for Lamp or vice versa. You said Waynes, it's fine. Maybe I can get a fourth or fifth back. But I would take that in a heartbeat, man. Just because, again, it's tough to give up guys, but it's like fantasy football. Nobody ever wants to make a trade because like, I got to give up this guy.
Yeah.
You got to remember who you're getting in
this
return,
guy.
though.
I bought this guy. I'm attached to him.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I drafted him for this much money, so I got to get this much back in return. Well, dude, we're in week 8, dude. He didn't live up to that value, man.
Right.
So
Corey Davising.
Yeah, exactly. So you get Forrest Lamp back. Think about the O-line now when everybody is healthy. Elfline, Forrest Lamp, Danny Isidore, and obviously, hopefully, Brian O'Neill figures it out in 2019. Riley Reif, Mike Remmers. That's a fun offensive line all of a sudden. And you don't skip a beat with Mike Hughes and Holton Hill.
Yeah.
Here's what I could see happening is, again, don't wish this upon any team, but say a team that's contending, like top 16-ish in the league, all of a sudden their starting quarterback goes down, a la Teddy Bridgewater a couple of years ago, and they don't really care for their backup. All of a sudden, Trevor Siemian, starter, has a winning record as a starter. He's going to probably leave in free agency next year anyway. All of a sudden, Ricky's back in the game. So, for my
Go ahead.
For my hypothetical, Rams, Jared Goff breaks the nail, out for the season.
Classic.
All of a sudden,
Everyone does that.
Isn't the backup
Some
still
point.
Sean Mannion for the Rams?
No.
Because that would be gross.
Luke, pull it up. You're already at Arlets.
Let me check.
Looking up Isaac Asiata.
I was just going to ask you if you were into Isaac Asiata when he came out because, that you could get some good depth there.
I thought he was all right, but he was
cheap.
overrated by Vikings.
It is
like,
Sean
very
Mannion.
obvious Reasons. Oh my god.
Sean Mannion,
Who else did
Brandon
they have?
Allen.
Brandon Allen, and
Oh.
Luis Perez.
Yeah.
Brandon Allen, the massaging his hands guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy who because at the Senior Bowl he his hands measured in below what is it 9 1/4, and then he
Yes.
got it massaged, and at the combine they measured at 9 1/4 exactly. I was like, it worked.
So weird.
So in this fictitious scenario, Jared Goff is out. Trevor Siemian for. Do we want Jamon Brown or Saffold in the spot? Saffold and change.
Saffold and change.
Bend him over the barrel, Rick. Although the Rams don't have draft picks to give.
Also,
Yeah, they got nothing.
here's a great idea.
Are you guys
I
worried
just-
about the Rams at all?
I
No.
just thought of a
Just because
phenomenal
they
idea.
pieced everything together and that just doesn't work in the NFL? Or
Yes.
I'm super excited to see kind of what happens with that.
Me too.
Okay, so the Vikings trade Kirk Cousins to the Jets for Teddy and Darnold.
Oh, Yanka.
And Darnold.
Yanka, good to see you. Here, didn't see you come in.
So we get Teddy back
Right.
and a top 5 quarterback from last year that
Right.
we get to develop.
The Jets wanted Kirk the whole time. Remember because they were in the running?
And we free up how much cap space?
Most of it.
All of it.
All of it.
This seems
Whoa.
like
So
right.
you go to Darnold and be like, yeah, so you're the backup from
No.
Yeah,
these
right, yeah,
parts.
yeah.
I'll
No.
text Rick.
It's like the Social Network when Spider-Man comes in and smashes Lex Luthor's laptop. He's like, lawyer up, asshole, because I'm taking all of it. That's Spielman to McCagnon, who always dresses like everyone's dad. It's great. Did you see the Jets tweet out happy birthday to him?
movie.
And all right, so he's wearing like the Jets standard polo. He's got it tucked into pleated khaki shorts. He's got the white shoes on. He's got the dad belt that probably says Nautica on it like 17 times in there. And holding a cup of Starbucks coffee. I'm like,
And Harbaugh's like, I'm going to sue
But-
you.
it was great. It was fantastic. Yeah, I mean, there's a month still. Fortunately, injuries are part of the game. Could be something weird going on, but yeah, we'll see. Last up to finish hour one. So I'm going to give you a spot on the roster, and then I want you to wager everything. Everything that you have.
We're going all in.
Everything that you can
So
borrow,
I'll play quarterback.
including your neck.
Yikes.
Including your neck. So you're putting this all on the line. So the first one, going into week one, who's going to be RB3?
Boone, easy for me.
I don't think it's that easy, but yeah.
Who's his closest competitor?
Seattle?
Mac, for sure.
Yeah.
Mac, so first of all, it looks like Latavius Murray lost weight, which means that maybe he's not a goal line back. He's more maybe of a complete back. The only goal line back you have left is Mac Brown. Plus, he's all right at catching passes.
I'll have to pull up the quote, but it was day 4 or 5 of training camp. DiFilippo did the presser after the walkthrough. He was asked about Michael Boone, and he stopped.
Yeah, he loved
and collected his composure for a second.
His route
he
running.
went off for about 2.5 minutes, which is a long time for a presser question, especially a walkthrough. And he was basically raving about Michael Boone in so many words,
but only as a pass catcher.
As a pass catcher, but also not just. I mean, I know it sounds cliche, but like the intangibles about how hard he works and he comes dead work. But again, though, I mean, just to watch DiFilippo and I didn't know where he stood on Michael Boone. It was obvious for me that he really enjoys working with this guy. That's why I think he's going to at least have an edge and solidified himself already as the 4, if not for sure the 3. By the time that comes around, he's still got to have some good preseason.
Andy, next question.
Yeah, I just love him. Like, he's like a really good Donnell Pumphrey, on a real team. Yeah. Cool. Bet your life. Who's going to be wide receiver 4 and 5?
Zylstra, I think, makes it.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, Treadwell and Wright are 3-4.
I'm not betting on Wright.
Really?
I don't even know if he.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It does feel like, especially with Zylstra getting some reps with the ones with Diggs out today, and has been throughout camp. I feel like he's on a tier by himself. Like, I feel like it's his job for wide receiver 4 to lose.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Coley and Zylstra.
Where are you at with Wright? Because now all of a sudden I'm second guessing myself. I thought Treadwell and Wright were 3-4.
I think he's exactly what you would expect. Again, with the faint phrase.
Do you
but
think
he hasn't impressed me much? I'd much rather eat up one of those roster spots than one of the younger guys.
So you're fine with him not making the 53 either?
Yeah. So think about it like this. So we go into camp thinking Wright's clearly the wide receiver 4 or 3. Right? He's competing for that spot. If we remove that assumption and we just watch him and compare him to Coley, Zylstra, Badgett, BB,
you
all
think
these
Coley
guys.
and Zylstra have been that much better than Wright?
Yeah, I think so. Wright's double clutching his passes. He's dropping a lot of passes. He dropped way more passes than either Coley. Well, that's not fair. Coley hasn't been to a bunch of
I was
practices.
going to say Coley really hasn't even played that much.
Coley is breaking late, though.
How come you say Coley's been that much better than Wright?
Coley has played well now that he's back in practices, but compare him to Zylstra, right? Zylstra is catching more passes, retaining more balls. He's making sure that when he does catch passes, he can maintain a clean line for yards after the catch. He presents himself as a bigger body, so he's a little bit more versatile than I think Wright is. So if you think of it as kind of a clean competition between the two, because remember, Wright doesn't have any guaranteed money on his contract.
That's true.
Then I think Zylstra does pull ahead.
Doesn't he have $400K guaranteed?
No.
Are
you sure? Well, you should look it up. Because two different people told me he doesn't have
Zylstra
any guaranteed money.
I thought Zylstra started slow. I think the last 4 or 5 days he's been great. He's been really good. And I don't necessarily agree that Kendall Wright's been as bad as you guys both say. But at the same time, he hasn't flashed. No, certainly he hasn't flashed or been as consistent as you would expect for an 8-year veteran in the league, too.
Do you remember a good play from him? I'm not trying to push on you.
I know. There's been no splash.
Okay.
No, but
talking about Cousins or Wright? All right, so Kendall, a 1-year $1 million contract, 800 base. You got 100K at signing, 400 dead.
Okay, so it is 400 dead.
Yeah.
Well, not a big deal then.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, it's
and you got to remember
peanuts.
too, Caleb's suspended 4 games too, so
so he's making it.
He's making it, and then he's losing it.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think preseason that's maybe the number one battle to watch is that 4 and 5 spot preseason between those 3 guys we just mentioned, Coley, Wright, and Zylstra.
Definitely pay attention to Coley too because he
is King out.
No, we just haven't seen
King
a ton of him because of that hamstring injury.
Yeah.
I thought he's looked like good, but same thing with Wright, where I don't think he's had kind of like a couple of highlights to point to.
And if you can't assume, he's a veteran. If you take that out, like you said,
right. So if you take that out, I do think that he's playing better than Wright. It's just he hasn't think about it like this: he's playing better than I thought he would. But he's clearly close to his ceiling, right? He's been in the league for a couple of years. He's probably not going to get that much better. Now, if he's only playing a little bit better than Coley, and you're the Vikings, you got to think, hey, one of these guys has yet to hit a ceiling.
Right.
Maybe Coley could end up being better. We should retain him. And I think that's what it's going to be, because I think King does have some stuff that makes him potentially a better player right now, but not a better person to keep on the roster.
You get one guy to throw on the practice squad. Robertson, Winicky, Badgett, or Beebe.
Robertson.
I don't think any of them are playing well. Robertson had a good play today, but
I liked Robertson going in. He hasn't really done much
I
for me
think,
at all. Badgett, here and there. Winicky.
I think, and
Somebody
I
tweeted out
could be
Winicky had a good red
convinced.
zone.
I'm
Was
gonna
that you?
What?
Winicky had a really good red zone day in general. Is that you? Or somebody
that
else?
wasn't
No?
me. I don't know. I would never say that.
God, no.
No. I guess I would go with Badgett, but I could be easily convinced not him.
Yeah, I
Right?
no-
Beebe had a good day today,
Yeah.
for example.
Right.
Maybe him.
Bet your I don't think there's any reason they carry 6 wide receivers this year.
No, not with this group.
It's difficult to say that they would.
Not with this
And the
group.
sixth one would be right in this case.
We're not worthy.
Especially,
Yeah, you're right,
you know,
you're not.
again, how heavy they want to lean on Cook and Murray. They like
Yeah.
Boone as their 3. Obviously, Rudy's great. Morgan, they feel comfortable with. But when you look at the offense,
if they keep a fullback this year, right?
correct,
That's
yes.
going to be part of it.
Yep, but when you look at the offense last year, it was so 1-2 punch heavy based with Thielen and Diggs. I think there's no way they keep 6, in my opinion, just from what I've seen with this group.
Cornerback 4, 5, 6.
Tough. So Hughes, unless he starts, which is possible.
Rhodes, Waynes, Hughes,
Do you think they? I
Mack.
think they keep Newman. Right.
Newman,
So
Holton. That's 6 for me. Cheryl's out.
you think Holton's the 5th one?
6.
6. Oh, okay,
with Newman.
Yeah. So Newman and Hughes as the 4 and 5, and then Andy S for the 6th one too.
Holton.
Yep.
Holton's my 6. Cheryl's
Yeah, I think
out.
Holton's the 6th in that case. Yeah, and then Cheryl's will be out. But they did try fielding punts today.
And give us the update.
No one. Cheryl's the only one that was consistent in catching it.
Wow.
So it's gonna be tough. And
They want
you'd think-
Hughes to win that, though.
Yeah, you'd think Hughes would be.
They want him to win it.
But I mean, Prefer even said a couple days ago, I am expecting Marcus Sherrills to be the starting punt returner and Mike Hughes to be the starting kick returner. Now, he said it in a way that, like, hey, someone could take the job from them.
Sure. But he's
like-
probably saying, like, as of today, right now, you're asking me, Cheryl's is my guy. What else do
Yeah.
I have to go off of? Yes.
So, yeah, and given that even Hughes wasn't consistent about catching punts the past 2 days, I want to say maybe not. And maybe they keep 7. Maybe they're like, Newman, you can play safety too.
If Hughes has keep an eye on preseason. If Hughes has really bad special teams fielding punts,
Yeah.
boy, they're going to be in a tough bind
Yeah.
to have to rock in a hard place to have to keep Cheryl's. And what? They're not going to keep 7. You can't keep 7. So I don't know what they're going to do. Can't try to put Holton Hill on practice squad. That's not going to work.
They can keep 7 if they keep 5 receivers.
Maybe.
And also 2 quarterbacks after we trade Trevor
Only 3
Siemian
running
to
backs
the Rams.
then and no fullback.
Oh, if we trade Trevor Siemian to the Rams, we get the Trevor Siemian Bowl later on in the season. Come on.
Yeah.
All right, 2 more. Give me the last D lineman on the roster to make the 53. So
Are they going to keep 8 or 9?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
let's
that's
do it
the question.
again.
I think
Let's do
they
it
keep
again.
9 because otherwise,
Then
do it again.
Bauer/Weatherly.
I was just going to say Bauer. I mean, I like what I've seen from Holmes. I think Weatherly.
Oh, yeah,
I've been
I
the
just
biggest
cut Holmes in my
Weatherly
head.
guy
Dang.
supporter. I think Weatherly may be out.
do you think?
Yeah, I would.
you
I would
just
keep
haven't done
Bauer
enough.
over Weatherly. In which case, then so then it'd be Holmes would be the 9th.
Right.
Ah,
So Bauer
that's
Holmes is your
tough.
9,
Does-
and so you got
Which
Cheryl's
means
and
it's
Weatherly out.
Fadi and Jaleel as the backup defensive tackles.
And Holmes. They
And
like
then
Holmes
Ade
as a
gets
3
cut,
tech.
which is fine, I think.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Any chance B-Rob gets cut?
There's a chance.
There's a chance.
He hasn't been
Less
doing
than
great in
50-50.
one-on-ones. He hasn't been doing great in
Just
11.
looks a little sluggish.
But I think they just want to keep him.
Yeah. It's like Newman. I mean, Newman's
playing
been better
Yeah.
than B-Rob for
But yeah,
sure.
I
but
get what you're saying.
So with B-Rob and Newman, I'm just kind of like, hey, we know what you are. We want the young kids to play. Why don't you stick around? How about assistant 2 Robert Rodriguez for B-Rob and assistant 2 Jerry Gray? We'll make you guys the highest paid defensive quality control, even though I think they cap the number of coaches, but whatever. And no other team's going to call you. If we have some injuries, We know where you are. Be like, what's up?
Can you do? I don't know.
I feel like the wink nod arrangements are fine. Like, I honestly feel like the Vikings had that a couple years ago with Sean Hill.
Oh, I could see that.
Yeah, it's like, Sean, go back to your couch in Olathe, Kansas, and we got your number.
But I would say if B-Rob is not playing, I think he's fishing. Like, I don't think
Correct.
he'd want to. I could see Newman, like, eventually
Newman
end
can't
up
give
coaching.
it up. Like, he's he needs it.
But yeah,
No wife, no kids.
He's in the
That's it.
CFL.
Good baller Merlot and
Within
Brandon
25
Tate.
years, is Terrence Newman a head coach somewhere? It can be college, it
sure,
can be high
yeah.
school, it can be
Like
NFL.
Texas. Yeah.
Sure.
Kansas State finally takes over from Bill Snyder in 2039.
Wait, you think Bill Snyder's gonna die in 2030 that soon?
I don't know. Clean living and being a good person. That is basically immortality. Give me the backup on lineman.
Avion just looked really good. Danny.
Edison.
Sorry, caveat. Assuming
Brian?
Tom Compton starts week 1, who are the backups?
O'Neal, Danny, Compton.
So Easton's
Avion.
like what? Pupped and
Oh, I
Pupped,
guess
yeah.
Easton's
Okay.
pupped. Yep. There you go.
okay. So then someone comes back. So yeah, Danny and Avion and O'Neal for sure. So then you have to figure out one or two more.
Cornelius, Edison.
Maybe.
by default.
Maybe. I mean, by
Yeah.
default, I'm strictly
Gotta have
saying
two
Edison
centers.
by default.
And then who's the last one?
That's 9.
Avion, Compton, Edison, Isidore,
They could
O'Neal.
keep 10. They've kept 10 in the past. Wait, who would it be?
Avante,
like
Compton,
Colby. Yeah, never
Edison,
mind. Yeah, it's not.
Isidore, O'Neal.
I don't think they're keeping Colby.
And I was just going to say that's without keeping Colby.
Practice squad.
Yeah, I don't think they are. Maybe
Yeah,
They'll
practice
try
squad.
probably put him on practice squad, but
Overrated cheese. Overrated offensive lineman.
Ew.
Even though he was my dark.
I
all
liked
my,
him, man.
All my dark horse players are dead. Like they're already shot. They broke legs. It's a shame.
Who are your dark horses? Colby and Ade?
No, I was on Ade, but Colby, Robertson, and Trey Matthews. Even though he's aight, he's fine. It was like, all right,
He had a couple of bad plays during the night scrimmage.
yeah. But other than that, it's a great.
Besides that, he's fine.
Listen to hour 2. Open up the phone lines, and we'll take your Twitter questions as well. Shows available on iTunes, Stitcher, iRadio, zonecoverage.com/machine. But for Luke and Reef and No Yanka and Tom, I'm Andy saying, sorry, bye. Let's hour 2.